Hi, this is Steve Young for the Co-Roundtable. I've kind of been concerned in recent years about the impact of all this incredibly new and remarkable technology. Cell phones, basically, but what else we can do? Zoom meetings, Skype meetings, YouTube, lectures on YouTube, podcasts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I just wonder, because so much of our worry, let's say, about global warming comes from what? Technologies that were invented in the 1700s, 1800s, and early 1900s. And if you invent a civilization that depends on hydrocarbons, and you pump up lots and lots of hydrocarbons, and you burn it, and you send CO2 in the atmosphere, there are effects. In other words, technology always has effects. I am reminded in terms of ancient humanoids, hearing a lecture on the discovery of a skeleton in, I think, South Africa at 20,000 BC or something like that, where some blunt instrument, a rock probably, had been used to crush a skull and kill somebody. And the point that was being made was that the rock at that point was a piece of technology. But it was used by one person to accomplish certain ends for that person, which happened to be killing another person. So I've always had this sort of suspicion, are we really on top of what our technology will do to us as opposed to for us? So I recently ran across an article on TikTok. I have to admit to you all that I have never watched anything on TikTok. My children are grown up and they don't, but that some of my grandchildren do. But in any case, I also know that some of my grandchildren spend hours playing video games, which to me is a use of technology. But this research on TikTok indicated with younger, I think it was like teenage girls, that the more they watched TikTok, which apparently most TikToks are 15 seconds, 30 seconds, something like that, under a minute, the more difficult it was for these young people to read a book, because reading a book is boring. The second thing they noticed is becoming more and more difficult for these young people to watch any video longer than maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And this is raising the question is, if you overload your brain at a young age on rapidly moving images like TikTok, will you permanently create pathways in the brain which will be resistant to anything longer, more complex, more subtle? Take, for example, a complex sentence with an introductory clause, a main clause, and then a subsidiary clause. That takes brain power. And if young people, and maybe even older people, are not building up that kind of brain power, how are we going to master a complex civilization? And perhaps from the Co-Roundtable's point of view, how are we going to develop powerful and sophisticated moral perceptions?